Reverse the case edit challenge, let's get started. Given a string, create a function to reverse the case. All lowercase characters should be uppercase and vice versa. Capital H, lowercase a, capital A. Let's get started with the code. So you have a string return value and a string parameter that gets brought into the function that's called reverse case. So what we can do to begin with is create a string result, make it equal to nothing, and then we can simply return it right at the end, return result. And then in the middle, what we want to do is create a for each loop. And the reason why it's a for each loop and not a for loop is because we want to go through each of the elements, but we don't really care about the index, we just care about adding it to this string. So we can say for each char x inside our str, and our str is going to be our string parameter, and x is just a value that we're going to use inside our for each. You can say element or value or whatever you want really, but x is just easy for me. So on this line, we basically just want to have a condition. If it's uppercase, we need to make it lowercase. So we can say if char.isUpper x, and then we can simply do result plus equals, and the plus equals is equivalent to doing the following, which I'll show you in a second. Then we can say char to lower followed by x, and this line is equivalent to saying something like this. Result equals the result plus char.toLower followed by the x. This is just a shorthand, so you don't have to write result equals result plus. The plus equals just wraps around this notation, so it makes it easier for us to use. And just to note, this isUpper and toLower functions are inside the char library, and this library is stored within the system. So in order to be able to use these functions, we need to go to the top of our code and say using system. And this gives us the ability to use these functions. If we didn't write using system, what we'd have to do is at the start of each line, we'd have to say system.char, and that's just repeating ourselves multiple times. Or we can put it at the start of the code and then simply include it without the system. So let's follow through the code. If it's uppercase, then we make it lowercase and add it to the result. And then we can add an else on here and we can say result plus equals char.toUpper. So really all we're doing is checking if it's uppercase, adding to this string the lowercase version of whatever character we're up to, and if it's not uppercase, it has to be lowercase, so we don't need an else if inside here, we can just assume because it's only uppercase and lowercase characters. So we can say else result plus equals char.toUpper. Uppercase, make it lowercase, and if it's lowercase, we make it uppercase. So let's hit check and see what we got. Perfect, that's all working. So what we can do, because we're still doing the same amount of code right here, we can actually convert this into a ternary operator, which is the question mark. So we can say result plus equals, and then we can take this condition and put it in here, and put a question mark, and put this condition in, and put a colon, and take this condition and put it here. So what this reads is exactly the same as this, it's just all wrapped around in one line. So the same action is whatever the value of this is going to be, we're always going to add it to the value result. So this is how it reads. If this passes true, we put this value inside this question, and if this one passes false, then we put this one inside here. So effectively, if it's uppercase, this line becomes this. It just takes off the rest and just keeps it as char to lower and puts it inside result. But in order to do it all in one line, we have to use this question mark, and all this really means is, if this passes true, this one happens. If this passes false, this one happens. So let's comment it out using a block comment, so that's /* and then */ again, just so we can comment out this section, and let's try run it again with this one line. And as you can see, everything still passes fine. So if you delete this code, you can see it's now quite short. It's been condensed to just one line inside the for each loop. So now that the task is complete, let's just have a little recap. We're using this library called system, which gives us the ability to use the char library, which has isUpper, toLower, and toUpper functions inside them, so we can use them inside this solution. And then we have a return value of a string, so we initialize it called string result, make it equal to nothing, and then at the end we just simply return it back to the function. We take in our string str parameter and using that inside our for each loop, and we're going through all of the characters inside that variable, and one by one we're processing it inside this for each loop. We're saying result plus equals to append to result, not to replace the values, we're just adding it onto the end. We first check if it's uppercase. If this passes true, then we convert that character to lowercase and then store it back on the end of result. And if it's indeed lowercase, then we convert it to uppercase and then store it back on the end of result as well. and that'll give us the implementation for our for each loop, and then we just return the result back to the function. So that's it for this challenge. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you want to, there's a Discord server available in the description for you to join as well to be introduced to our little community. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.